Hi friends, life is all about learning how to smile in difficult situations. As we all know, tackling coronavirus disease is the biggest challenge humanity is facing across the globe these days. In these tough times, doctors are expected to continue to give their essential services. So in this video, I will be sharing some important tips on how to protect ourselves and our patients while we deliver our services. These issues will be addressed in the talk. Let me begin this presentation by asking you a question. Can the words coronavirus and COVID 19 be interchangeably used? While politicians, media persons, and laymen often interchange them wrongly, as a doctor, we should know that corona is the name of the virus, whereas COVID 19 is the name of the disease the coronavirus causes. Just like HIV is the name of the virus, while AIDS is the disease that HIV causes. Similarly, when somebody tests positive for the corona infection, we should label them as corona positive and not COVID positive. Just the way we label somebody as HIV positive or HIV negative and not AIDS positive or AIDS negative. Similarly, COVID 19 pandemic is the right word to use and not corona pandemic because outbreaks, epidemics, and pandemics are named after the disease and not after the organism, like we had cholera outbreak or plague epidemic previously. Until the modes of transmission of coronavirus are firmly established, telemedicine should be the preferred form of consultation wherever possible because of its safety. Having realized its importance, the Government of India quickly made it legal on the 25th March of 2020. Telemedicine can be practiced legally in either audio, video, or text format. Dedicated softwares like Dokon are also available with added advantage of proper documentation and with an ability to generate a formal prescription for the patient. But before using them, ensure the confidentiality of the patient's reports and also know their terms because some of them charge about 10% of the consulting fees as their service charges. I have given a link to the guidelines and request you to go through because it is new for all of us and ignorance of rules is not an excuse in the court of law. I have picked up some of the important points from the guidelines that of course one has to be RMP to practice and don't forget to take the identification proof of the patient, and when you call the patient please document the willingness of the patient to take treatment from you and don't proceed if you have any doubt regarding the diagnosis, and if you feel physical examination is must, please arrange for an in-person examination. And also don't give prescription if you are not satisfied with the information available, if you are not able to make a provisional diagnosis. You should know that you cannot prescribe anti-cancer drugs, narcotics, or codeine over teleconsultation. And of course, you should follow medical ethics. And one more very important thing is don't force patient for teleconsultation. And also don't advertise to solicit patients for teleconsultation. And whenever you charge, you have to issue as a receipt or invoice for the fees. Most of our clinics were closed for the last few days. Now, before opening to give your services, I want all of you to make some very important changes. Of course, most of them will be without any added cost. Like the doctor and the receptionist who give appointment to patients should always have this important list of do's and don'ts saved in their mobile. And the moment an appointment is given to any patient, immediately this message should be forwarded to them because some of the preparations like making an electronic payment might take some time. If the patient is an adult, can commute independently and make decisions for himself, then he should travel alone without any attenders. It's always preferable to wear a triple layer surgical mask. And it's better to that patient carries his own pen because borrowing others' pen may not be safe. And a smartphone with all the soft copies of his old reports and latest prescription and an ability to pay online or make online payments is highly appreciable. Patients should also try to get a wide mouth sealable bag so that they collect all the reports without touching them. And also wiser to get their own food and water. If patient cannot come alone, then you should try to arrange for one all-rounder attender who can do multiple tasks like driving, making decisions for the patient, so that multiple attenders can be avoided. As we know from studies of other countries, elderly people, people who have cardiac disease, who are hypertensive, diabetic, obese, smokers are more prone for complications of COVID 19. Hence, attenders should not be preferably from these categories. Interestingly, it's also noted that women are less prone for complication than men. If you have a superwoman or a Wonder Woman in your house who is young, healthy, and is able to drive, then she is the perfect attender. Doctors should ensure before giving appointment that patients have complaint pertaining to their field of specialization. Patients should also make some efforts from their end to consult the correct doctor. Because reaching a wrong doctor to get redirected to the right doctor is not only waste of resources but may also be risky. Patients with fever should only visit fever clinics. Patients with fever and cough should only enter the clinic after obtaining permission from the concerned medical staff through a telephone. Patients should try to avoid public transport as far as possible, and they should always be mindful to avoid handling others' belongings. Patients shouldn't speak when they are close to any other person, be it a receptionist, doctor, or a paramedical staff. If they wish to speak, they should step back by about 2 meters or gesture the other person to go back. I request all the public to pause the video and read and understand each point of the slide carefully. Coming to the changes that we will be making in your clinic, the most important I would suggest is to minimize furnitures and the clutter. This will reduce the fomites and also make the disinfection process easy. The maximum you can have is a chair and table for you, an examination table, and a chair for the patient. All the books and journals, your awards, and physician samples should be shifted out of the room. The patient's chair will be facing the same direction as your chair because you are going to examine the patient from behind. Similarly, in the waiting area, there has to be only chairs with adequate gap between each chair, and don't forget to remove the center table and the magazines and newspapers. Another important measure is to maximize ventilation. Keep open all the doors, windows all the time. Ideally, we need a negative pressure ventilation, which unfortunately is not available at most of the places. An out of the box thinking strategy for this measure maybe is to altogether shift your clinic outside, something known as open air clinic, just the way we do it in the countryside camps that we organize. This kind of arrangement may not be possible for all the doctors because of lack of space, or is that the clinics are situated in the upper floors, and also in sometimes in the afternoon because of the hot weather this may not be practicable. With open to air clinic arrangements, you may only have to get inside for situations where you require privacy during examination, or patient has to undergo some kind of test wherein the machines cannot be shifted out. If not consulting room, at least waiting area can be outside. The fan should be arranged in such a way that the wind should flow between the doctor and patient and then drained away from the room. It should neither flow from doctor to patient or from patient to doctor. You might have noticed ACs being switched off in the grocery malls and other public places. That's because of the government guidelines. If you wish to use air conditioning system, as per the Indian Society of Heating and Refrigeration guidelines, the temperature has to be between 24 to 30 degrees Celsius and relative humidity between 40 and 70%. When the humidity is less than 40%, the dryness in the respiratory tract reduces the ciliary motility, thereby reducing the body's ability to defend infections. Coronavirus is less likely to survive at higher temperatures and higher humidity. It survives longer at cooler temperatures. For example, at 4 degrees Celsius, it can survive up to 21 days. If you wish to know more about these guidelines, there is a link provided in this slide. Natural air purifiers like snake plant or electric purifiers may be of some help and may be kept in the waiting areas and in consulting room. Electric air purifiers are already being used in operation theatres and intensive care units. When you use natural purifiers in the clinic, you may have to sanitize the outer aspect of the pots at least once a day. Mobiles can be kept in the sea-level polythene pouches so that they can be repeatedly disinfected with either alcohol or soap and water. The diagram illustrates that most of the masks to some extent can filter the coronavirus, but an ideal mask will give a good seal around the mouth and nose. In the clinic and hospital surroundings, everyone should wear a mask. All the staff, including those who are involved in cleaning, should wear N95 masks. If it is not available, then at least 2 surgical masks should be worn. When a patient or an attendant doesn't wear masks, they will definitely increase the risk of transporting the disease to other patients as well as the medical staff. Hence, it is advisable that doctors keep a decent stock of AAA surgical masks because sometimes patients end up coming to clinic without mask or just a cloth mask. Doctors and paramedical staff should avoid accessories like belt, tie, watches which can act as fomites. Because 80% of the corona infected individuals have no symptoms or have mild symptoms, it is safer to treat everyone coming to clinic as corona positive. All the medical and paramedical staff should use PPE kit when available, and also they should learn the correct procedure of donning and doffing. Donning and doffing should be done in different areas. Remember to eat, drink, and use washroom just before donning because it's not good to do these activities in between. Dentists, ENT surgeons, and ophthalmologists should use a hood, but physicians may settle for a face shield and a cap so that their ears are accessible to use as teeth. Of course, the first main reason for advocating PPE even for OPD is safety of doctor and the patient. The second main reason is to prevent quarantine of medical staff. I guess many of the doctors didn't understand this. Let me explain. Suppose a doctor has attended to 15 patients yesterday, and for his bad luck, today one patient among those 15 patients is turned out to be corona positive. In that context, as per the government rules, the hospital has to be closed for one day, fumigated, and maybe restarted. But what about the medical and paramedical staff? All the medical and paramedical staff who had come in contact with that patient will be quarantined for next 14 days. In these days of financial crisis, if you are the only surgeon or physician in your nursing home, can you afford to get quarantined for next 14 days? But a staff who was wearing full personal protection equipment need not be quarantined even if he was exposed to corona positive patients. To overcome shortage of supply and as a cost cutting measure, one may procure these kinds of sterilizing machines to effectively sterilize and reuse PPE kits, or may even settle for the method of hot ironing and rotating between three sets. All India Institute of Medical Sciences recommends to rotate between 4 N95 masks. This article published in Lancet also questions the recommendations made by AIMS because the virus can persist up to 7 days on masks. As per the latest information released from WHO as well as an article published in Lancet, coronavirus is heat sensitive and is inactivated within 5 minutes when the temperature rises above 70 degree. Iron Box is a widely available and cost effective machine to sterilize PPE kits and masks as it easily generates temperatures above 70 degrees Celsius. No drug is clearly proven to be effective either for prophylaxis or treatment. Many large randomized controlled trials are going on. Please keep a track of them. After making necessary arrangements in the clinic to prevent cross infection, you ensure that you also prepare these kinds of consent forms to safeguard yourself. Patients should sign the consent form immediately on arrival. This form will also help to identify and isolate patients who have symptoms of viral fever. Make a foolproof system to ensure that all the patients use hand sanitizers not only at the time of entry but also at the time of exit. Even though you made necessary arrangements, please don't call all the patients. Continue to follow the golden rule which you are following for the last few days, like all your asymptomatic patients should continue to take their medicines, postponing their follow up. Try to sort out as many problems as possible over telemedicine itself. It's unlikely that the disease spreads as rapidly as they show in Contagion movie, unless someone directly coughs or sneezes on somebody's face. According to a group of doctors from Singapore, the risk of transmission increases significantly if the exposure time is more than 30 minutes, and it is very negligible if the exposure time is less than 10 minutes. This is the key statement we should remember all the time, be it while performing an examination or a test or a minor procedure. We should try to wind it up as early as possible. There are many tricks to achieve this, like you can take history through telephone or making him stand outdoor, get him inside only for the examination and examine him only if it is very much necessary, and again patient can stand back at the entrance while you prepare his prescription summary. Also educate your staff including receptionist and the laboratory technician to reduce the exposure. If you receive a phone call when the patient is sitting in front of you, either you walk away with the phone or ask the patient to stand outdoor until you finish the call. Strictly attend one patient at a time, and also it is common among medical staff to forget physical distancing while discussing some serious academic matters. These are some of the procedures associated with increased aerosolization, so you should use them judiciously. These measures will prevent the cross infection among the patients. Along with doctor, even the paramedical staff and the receptionist also should sanitize the instruments whatever they are using for each patient. It's very easy to prepare 1% sodium hypochlorite solution. Just add 7 gram of bleaching powder to 1 liter of water, or about 35 gram of bleaching powder to 5 liters of water. Every time prepare it freshly, and it can be used to disinfect floors, chair and tabletops and so on. Vacuum cleaning followed by wet mopping is the best strategy to clean the floor. In the unavailability of a vacuum cleaner, a cloth mop should be preferred over a broomstick. Use technology to transfer all the medical reports, including even prescriptions, so that handling by multiple personnel is prevented. If you have to deal with hard copies, then hot iron may be an alternative option to sterilize the reports and prescriptions before handing out to patient. And the same thing also can be used to sterilize the notes before collecting from the patient. But we should remember that thermal sensitive papers like ECG graph paper cannot be hot ironed. This way, you can hot iron the reports and prescriptions before handing it over to the patient, and also hot iron the notes before collecting them. Remember not to burn the notes. Of course, the best way to receive payments will be some kind of online, like using UPIs or mobile banking or net banking. If you don't have any of these facilities, then you can keep 4 plastic boxes so that you don't touch the notes for next 3 days. Of course, no medical representative should come in person to meet the doctor. Doctors who come under high risk, like elderly ones, those who have diabetes, hypertension, those who are obese, should master the skills of telemedicine. They should use the technology to the maximum. In some instances, they may have to hire a junior doctor or take the help of other doctors. I just wish to remind you here that investing time for your health gives the best returns for life. Friends, hope the video was useful. Remember, courage is the most important companion during a crisis. Be optimistic, stay safe, and stay strong.